So for this week's 10 list, we decided to switch things up a bit and actually put me in front of the camera, which is kind of nice. Now, I'm really excited because this week, X-Men Apocalypse is premiering. Now, I've been stoked about this since the after-credit scene of Days of Future Past, mainly because two of my favorite mutants are coming out in it, Psylocke and Archangel. Now, granted, Angel made an appearance in X-Men 3, but that one's gone. Who else needs a debut? We have New Mutants in production, and X-Force is rumored to be starting production, so I was thinking, what other mutants from the comics need to hop onto the silver screen? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in the 10 list, so let's jump into it. Amal Farouk was the human manifestation of the entity known as the Shadow King, until an encounter with Charles Xavier in 1971, which left him trapped in the astral plane. Now, coincidentally, it was this battle that inspired Xavier to form the X-Men in the comic book series. Now, as a villain, Shadow King could bring a very different level of threat into the mix, as the team has to adapt to fight someone who isn't easily brought down by brute strength. Now, up until now, with the exception of Emma Frost in X-Men First Class, the cinematic Xavier hasn't really had to throw down with a telepath powerful enough to challenge him on screen. So it'll be very interesting to see what would happen if they did eventually bring Shadow King to life on film. Son to longtime X-Men ally Moira McTaggart, Proteus is a mutant who possesses the psionic ability to manipulate and alter reality. In addition to that, he is essentially in a state of pure psionic energy that can possess any other human or mutant. Now, if doing so burns out the host body, which is actually what happened to his physical body as well in the comics. Now, much like the Shadow King, this person would give the X-Men a different type of challenge that has not been done before. It could definitely have kind of a Bourne Identity feel, as the team is frantically trying to keep up with a rogue Proteus as he wreaks havoc across the globe. Our first hero on the list is Paige Guthrie, or Husk, who is an omnimorph. Now, this means that she can turn into anything, whether it is stone, another person, acid. She's done all of them in the comics. Now, she activates her ability by literally ripping off her current layer of skin. The character of Husk could bring another type of visual power to the screen, one that we really haven't seen before. We kind of saw with Darwin in X-Men First Class, but this would be on a different level, because we have seen other metamorphs like Mystique, but we really haven't seen them have to use their power in a way like this, where she's physically ripping away her skin, which would create a very, very unique effect. Another interesting twist, just based upon the character, is that Paige actually wanted to become a mutant. Her older brother, known as Cannonball, was a mutant in the book, so she wanted to be a mutant as well. This was described in an issue of Generation X where the team was describing how they discovered their powers, and it was then revealed that Paige had tried very hard to discover her own powers until finally realizing her actual ability. While the Hellfire Club was highlighted to some degree in X-Men First Class, with Kevin Bacon stepping into the role of Sebastian Shaw, it really wasn't the incarnation that fans of the comic are used to and have seen throughout the history of the book and on animated series. Now, the group itself first premiered in Uncanny X-Men during the Dark Phoenix saga, and this secret group consisted of mutants and those with special abilities who held titles likened to chess pieces, with Sebastian Shaw in the role of the Black King and Emma Frost in the role of the White Queen. Now, during the Dark Phoenix saga in the comics, Jean Grey actually joined the club as the Black Queen until she was rescued by her teammates. This incarnation of the group would be very interesting to see on the big screen. In the animated series Wolverine and the X-Men, the Hellfire Club actually has a more active role in the Phoenix saga, which was just based on a story that came out of Ultimate X-Men. Now, with the rumors that the next X-Men film is going to be based in the 90s and possibly feature the Dark Phoenix, this could be a good way to do it without having to involve the intergalactic origins of the Phoenix. Next up is Cannonball, also known as Sam Guthrie and the older brother of our earlier entry, Husk. He first appeared in Marvel graphic novel number 4, and then actually was a main cast member of the New Mutants book. Now, after that series run, the entire team left Xavier's school to follow the time-traveling mercenary Cable to form X-Force. Now, Cannonball has a very unique ability that he could essentially expel energy, but he expels it from his waist down, which essentially propels him into the air like a rocket. While he's doing this, he has a blast field around him that makes him pretty much invulnerable, so he has been known to barrel through buildings. He even took down Gladiator, who is one of the strongest warriors in the Shi'ar. Now, with the New Mutants film currently in pre-production, it is very likely that we will see Cannonball officially announced on the film's roster. So the Brood are an intergalactic race of insect-like aliens created by Chris Claremont, and they first appeared in Uncanny X-Men 155. Now, these are very, very similar to the Xenomorphs from the Aliens movie saga, so there are some similarities. The main one being the Broods must implant other races with eggs that will actually transform the host into a member of the Brood. So with the rumors that the Dark Phoenix saga is going to be the focus of the next film, if the story does stick with the intergalactic origins of the Phoenix Force, this could very well be a villain that the team would square off against while traveling through space. This was an interesting turn. X23 was actually created for the X-Men Evolution animated series as a female clone of Wolverine who has 2 claws in each arm and 1 claw in each foot. Since then, the character had also appeared in the animated series Wolverine and the X-Men, but has also entered into the actual X-Men comic book universe. With Hugh Jackman entering his last run as Wolverine, X23 could very well present a very viable replacement for Hugh Jackman, especially considering that the character has already stepped into the Wolverine role in the comics after the big Secret War shakeup that happened this past year. Professor Xavier turned evil and became the entity known as Onslaught, and he became an extremely powerful villain, and he fought all the X-Men to a standstill, and it took the combined might of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four to take him out for good. Now, with deals happening allowing Spider-Man to come into the MCU, if there ever was a storyline that could bring the X-Men universe and the Avenger universe together, this would be it. It has a perfect opportunity for a crossover film, and it would be a very, very impactful story. After the Sentinels and the Nimrod Sentinels made their big screen debut in Days of Future Past, we know it is only a matter of time until we see them make a comeback in the X-Men cinematic universe. The character of Bastion was created from the remnants of the Sentinel Master Mold and Nimrod technology in the comics. He premiered in the Operation Zero Tolerance storyline that followed the Onslaught saga, and he pretty much made life hell for all of the X-Men. Bastion definitely has the power to send the X-Men running, especially if he gains control of the X-Mansion like he did in the comic. Finally, we come to one of my all-time favorite villains in the X universe, Mr. Sinister. Sinister premiered in Uncanny X-Men 221, and since then has made life for the X-Men rather troublesome. He's manipulated everything from the mutant massacre of the Morlocks, which in the comics led to the character of Angel losing his wings and thus becoming Archangel. Sinister would pose a very different type of story for the X-Men, one that we really haven't seen yet. It would be definitely a story of intrigue, maybe a little espionage. Historically, in the comics, Sinister has always led from the shadows with an army of lackeys doing his dirty work, where you don't really realize it's him until it's too late. Sinister also has very deep ties to Apocalypse. Everything Sinister has done in the comics since their first encounter has been to find a way to destroy Apocalypse, and with X-Men Apocalypse premiering this week, I would not be surprised if we got a Sinister cameo.
So that wraps it up for the 10 list for this week's everyone. I want to thank you for watching, but more so, I want to know what you think. Do you agree with our selections, or do you feel that there's a mutant out there who deserves to be on that list more than the rest? I want you to let us know in the comments below. Keep up with us on all of our social media. Don't forget to subscribe. And this is Mac with AC3 TV.